How to get over someone you never dated. In this video, I'm going to tell you how to get over someone you never had. It's Sabrina, your personal love advisor from A New Mode, the channel where we show you how love actually works. Okay, so I think that getting over a guy you never actually dated is way harder than getting over a guy who you were in a relationship with. At least when you were in a relationship with that person, you were there, you lived it. You experienced the breakdown of the relationship that led to the breakup. You experienced the pain, the fights, the crying, and everything else that went into the relationship falling apart. When it's a guy you never dated, all you have are the thoughts of what could have been. And that beautiful potential can never come into fruition because he doesn't want it to. And you don't get it. You see so much potential with this guy. You guys have fun, you're attracted to each other, you have great chemistry, you like the same things, you have a great time together. What's the problem here? Why doesn't he even want to try? Why doesn't he even want to get to know you before ending things with you? You're left mourning the potential of what could have been. And that is so much harder than mourning what has already been. I truly feel your pain. I have been through this situation many times in different ways, and I'm gonna tell you how to get over it with your self-esteem intact and your head held high. So make sure you watch this video all the way until the end. Real quick, if you like this video and find it helpful, please give it a like. This will really help me out. This tells YouTube that this is a good video, this was helpful, and then YouTube will share it with other people who need this advice. So that's a really quick and easy way to help me out. I really put so much into these videos. I love making these videos, and I just want as many people as possible to benefit from them. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell so you don't miss out when I post new videos. And if you like the content, if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, leave them in the comment section. I read them all. And if you want even more, make sure to subscribe to the A New Mode newsletter. That is where Eric is the co-founder of A New Mode. We share our best content, personal stories. We answer all your questions. We deliver it straight to your inbox every day. You can sign up at anewmode.com/subscribe and follow me on Instagram at newmode. Okay, so like I said earlier, I have been through this sort of situation many times, but there's one in particular that really stands out to me. And it was with a guy who I'm gonna call Jack. So we met through some online dating site, I don't even remember which one. And he was living in LA, I was living in New York City. So we had exchanged lengthy emails for a few months, and then he decided we should take it to the next step and talk on the phone. So he called me and we spoke for 6 hours. And I am not a phone person. I am someone that gets angry if somebody calls me when it's like not an emergency. I'm like, why didn't you just text me? Like, why do I have to talk on the phone right now? I don't like the phone. But I was on the phone with him for 6 hours and I enjoyed it. I was like sad that it was 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever and I had to go to bed. We had a lot in common and we kind of lived parallel lives, and I'm a writer. I'm always looking for the story, and this is my problem, and I'm gonna cover this later because this is a problem that a lot of us have. I get very swept up in the fantasy. So it turned out that this guy actually went to the same college as me. We were there all 4 years. After college, we both traveled to the same countries. We both lived abroad in the same place. Like, we had these parallel lives, and now, you know, our paths were crossing and I was like, oh my gosh, it's meant to be. Anyway, we had another phone call. This time wasn't as explosive. The next phone call was a few days after the 6 hours one. It wasn't as explosive, but it was still nice, and I was still, you know, really into him and really excited about the possibilities of where this could go and, you know, what could be. And I remember the days after that call, I mean, I was already envisioning this bi-coastal life. I mean, I work, you know, for myself, I can work from anywhere. He worked for himself, he had a flexible schedule. So I was just imagining this life of like traveling to LA and traveling back to New York and with my new wonderful boyfriend, and everything would be so great and this would be so perfect. So just as I was getting super excited, just as I was starting to tell my friends all about this guy, I got completely shocked to my core. So I will never forget it. I was on the phone with Time Warner. I was trying to fix my internet, and they like had me on hold, and they're like, restart the router, blah, blah, blah. And as like I'm talking to him, I see an email pop up on my phone, and it's from Jack. And I'm gonna read you guys what it said. Hey Sabrina, it's been great getting to know you and talking to you the past few days, but unfortunately, I don't think I'm the best match for you, and I think you deserve to have the person who is best for you. You're an awesome person who I definitely connect with, but I think it's more on a friendship level. All the best and enjoy Italy. What the hell? What was that? I mean, the Time Warner guy is like, miss, like, are you there? Is the router working? And I like couldn't even speak. I was in shock. I did not see this coming at all. He's breaking up with me now? Like, We haven't even met yet. At least meet me and then dump me. Like, how are you breaking up with me after 2 phone conversations? It all just seemed so discourteous. And it wasn't the fact that he ended it with me, it was like the reason that he gave. Had he said something like, look, I think this distance is gonna be a problem for me. I don't know if I wanna be in a long distance relationship, so maybe we should just cut it here. I would have understood that. Like, that would have made logical sense to me. But the fact that he was like, I think this is more on like a friendship level type of thing. I was just like, but what do you mean? You haven't even met me in person to know if you're attracted to me or if it's just a platonic thing. Like, where is this coming from? I just felt really offended, to be honest. I also felt like a huge idiot for feeling the way that I did, for getting so excited about the possibilities, for thinking that this guy and I really had something going. And it had been such a long time at this point before when he came into my life was right after my whole like Kevin the Damage Case debacle fell apart. And I have another video on that, so I'll link that as well, because you should definitely watch that one. And so after all that drama with him and the Damage Case, whatever, I finally found like a nice and normal guy who I really felt like I connected with. And also, like, I was an established relationship writer at this point in time. So that made it even worse, that I didn't see it coming. I didn't see that we had 2 completely, totally different perspectives. And I used to encounter this problem a lot. I would meet a guy who I connected with, and that was always a rare thing for me. So then I would just like build it up, and then I would just be devastated when the guy inevitably ghosted. Now, it was always the opposite with the guys that I was lukewarm about. Those were the guys that always fell head over heels in love with me. And there is that phenomenon of only attracting the guys you don't want and not the ones that you do. And actually, I feel like that would be a good video topic. So leave a comment below. Let me know if you want me to make a video about why the guys that you don't want fall in love with you and why you can't get the guys that you do want, because I have a lot to say on that as well. Anyway, I used that story just to illustrate one example that, I have experienced and lived through. And I know that if you're watching this video, then you've either been through this sort of thing or you're going through it right now. So how do we get over it? How do we heal and rebuild ourselves and not let it eat away at our self-esteem when a guy who we never even had dumps us, if you can even call it that? I mean, is it even called a breakup when you never even dated? All right, let's talk about how to move on. Number 1, realize that potential is always prettier than reality. Whatever visions you have in your mind are just fantasies. I'm not saying you can't ever have that kind of relationship, the one that you're imagining in your mind, but I am saying you can't have it with him. Why? Because if a guy is gonna end it with you before he even had the chance to get to know you, he just isn't the right guy for you. The right guy for you is a guy who wants to be with you. He's a guy who wants to put his all into it. He's a guy who at the very least wants to get to know you. He doesn't just learn like the bare minimum about you and decide, not for me, moving on. The right guy for you will do whatever it takes to make it work. He won't just give you some flimsy reason as to why he doesn't want to continue seeing you or talking to you anymore. Number 2, it's okay to feel sad. I know that you feel ashamed. I know you feel stupid. I know you might even feel embarrassed that you're so hurt by a guy who you never even had. But like I said, these types of situations are so much harder to get over than actual breakups. So you're not foolish for feeling upset about it. I honestly feel like questions about non-relationships are the most popular that I get. Women feeling so crushed and devastated when situations like this blow up. If you, again, watch that video on damage cases, then you'll know that me, someone who knows better or knew better, spent a year chasing after a guy who was never truly mine. It happens. It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. And it's okay to be upset about it and to mourn it as you would an actual breakup. Number 3, it's not personal. I know it feels personal. I know it feels like there must be something wrong with you and now you have to go on a mission to fix whatever this fatal flaw is. Otherwise, you will be doomed to spend your entire life all alone. And maybe if you fix whatever this fatal flaw is, Prince Charming will see the error of his ways and then he will come crawling back and you will live happily ever after. I remember in the case with Jack, I was like, well, maybe, he just sees me as a friend. Maybe I'm not sexy enough on the phone. Maybe I'm just too friendly. Maybe I need to be like a little bit more mysterious. I need to hold myself back a little bit more. And I was racking my brain thinking about what could it have been. But there are no answers to be found. I don't know what was going on in his head. I will never know. All I know, and definitely in looking back now, is that it was not the guy for me, like at all. I just took it so personally, and that's why I couldn't move past it. It wasn't that I had these great profound feelings for him. I never even met him. For all I know, he doesn't exist. Like maybe I was being catfished, but he actually does exist. And he actually just got engaged to a girl that I know who I had set up with a different friend. Totally crazy, small world. Anyway, I didn't know this at the time. And it wasn't him that I was upset about. It was my ego. I was upset about my ego, and I was just trying to nurse my ego back to life. And that's what caused me to kind of feel so stuck on this place and feeling so stuck on him and dwelling and obsessing over what went wrong and what I did and how I could fix it. All of this is just ridiculous because with the right guy, you do not have to measure your words and your affect so much. If you need to do this, then you are with the wrong person. I'm sure if we flip it, you've had experiences where you dated a guy who was great. There was nothing wrong with him. Everything checked out. He was great on paper, checked all the boxes, but you just didn't feel it and you didn't exactly know why. That's just how it is. Not everyone's a match. In an ideal world, both of you will see it and you can part amicably, but that's not usually how it goes. Usually one person has the clarity and the other person's left baffled. The other person's like, wait, I thought we had a great thing going. What do you mean? What do you mean you're going? What do you mean you're ending it? Like we're just getting started and now it's over. It really stinks to be the one who thinks that everything's going great and then to be blindsided when the other person is like, nah, I don't think so. But you just have to realize that, again, it's not personal. It's just that he had the clarity this time to realize that you guys just weren't a match for whatever reason. Number 4, get distance. It's really hard to get distance these days because we are so all up in each other's business. There are so many portals of social media and so many ways to just put your life out there. It's like, how do you get a break from someone? It was so much easier to just get distance and move on in the days before the internet when like you broke up with someone and your only chance of knowing what they were up to is if you ran into them in person. But now, I mean, there are just so many ways to stay connected and it's really hard. It's really hard to stop yourself from checking up on him on his TikTok or his Instagram or his Snapchat or wherever else. But you have to be strong. You will never move on from this or forget about him if you keep stalking him and seeing what he's up to. And as we know, social media is the highlight reel of our lives. So if you do this, all you're gonna see are his best moments. You're gonna see him looking his best, being at his best. And that's just gonna make you even more upset. That's gonna make you more attached to the potential of what could have been with this guy. It's just not gonna help you. You're not gonna get any answers from checking up on his social media. You have to defriend him, block him if you need to, or also a really good strategy is to punish yourself anytime you check in on him, but punish yourself in a way that will benefit you. Like for example, anytime I stalk him, I have to run 3 miles on the treadmill. That way you are conditioning, because I hate running, so you just pick something that like you hate but would be beneficial for you, because some people love running. I'm not one of those people. Like that is a punishment for me, running 3 miles. So do something like that. Like, you know, give yourself some sort of consequence anytime you check in on this guy. Number 5, look back objectively. I know you think that he was so great and so sexy and so charming and so wonderful and so perfect, but he wasn't, because I'm assuming he's a human and nobody is. Nobody is perfect. This guy had flaws just like you have flaws. So find them and think about those instead of thinking about how great he is and how perfect he is. And maybe you don't know any flaws because you didn't get to know him well enough to discover his flaws. So maybe his flaw is just that he didn't give an amazing woman like you a chance. And that's really sad for him. Maybe he has commitment issues. Maybe he has some issues. Who knows? Who knows what the deal is with this guy? But that's sad that you are this amazing woman who is right there and he couldn't see it. And you should just feel sorry for him. Number 6, feel good. The antidote for feeling bad is to do things that make you feel good. Make that your focus. Stalking him doesn't feel good. Feeling sorry for yourself doesn't feel good. Picking yourself apart doesn't feel good. So don't engage in those behaviors. You're just hurting yourself by doing that. Actively force yourself to do things that make you feel good. Put on makeup, get dressed in a cute outfit, exercise, spend time with friends, go for a walk outside. Do things that make you feel happy and alive and relaxed and energized. And number 7, you never know where this may lead. So as you heard in the copy pasted email that I read for you, at the end, he said, enjoy Italy. And that's because I was going on a trip to Italy a few weeks after he and I, whatever, that whole thing fell apart. And in that time between him breaking up with me, we can call it that, and going away, I really just kind of nipped this whole thing in the bud quickly by following all the advice that I'm giving you. I was like, I'm not gonna let myself get swept up in the fantasy and do things that make me feel good, and I'm just gonna move on from this. And I was able to move on much quicker from that than normally in the past, where I would have just spent months and months like, you know, ruminating over it. So I went to Italy, I had an amazing time. I was just happy, living life, living it up. And when I got back, I reconnected with an ex-boyfriend who I had run into earlier that summer, and he wanted to meet up, and we did. And now we are married. I mean, and I think that Jack really was an important lesson for me to have right before I started dating my ex. Because like I said, my problem was getting swept up in the fantasy. And now my ex-boyfriend, who I had never fully gotten over, who I was like obsessed with for such a long time, who I spent 10 years like weaving in and out, we would like weave in and out of each other's lives. And I was always hoping he would ask me out again, and he never did. And then he did. And I was like, well, now this is a story, you know? I always wanted that story, and this is amazing. And if it works out, can you imagine? But I was like, no, I'm not doing it this time. I'm not getting swept up in the fantasy. And I allowed myself to just be more pragmatic. And that was unnatural for me, so I really had to force it. I also allowed myself to consider other possibilities. There were a few other guys in the picture at this time, and I was like, maybe I'll end up with this one, maybe I'll end up with this one, maybe I'll stay single for a little while longer. I didn't allow myself to get swept up in the fantasy, and that was a big lesson that I learned from Jack. So it's really important to take these experiences, however, hurtful and potentially damaging make you feel at the time, and find the lesson, because there's always a lesson to learn, and you can take that lesson and be even better for your next relationship. And your next relationship might be your last relationship. So those are my tips. I really hope you found this helpful. Please, if you have any advice, anything that worked for you, leave it in the comment section. It could really help other people. And leave any questions, any feedback in the comment section. I read them all. I love interacting with you guys. And for more relationship advice, sign up for our newsletter, anewmode.com/subscribe. The link is down below, and follow me on Instagram @anewmode, and I will see you guys in the next video.